nobody else. Everything gon' fall in place. You being real in your steps. I'm talking real in every breath that you breathe. Only way to receive every order that you need to succeed. It's time to rise up out that black state. Look in the mirror, tighten up, grab yourself if this correlate. Cause I've been through that block shit. Dark nights, black thoughts, knowing I can't grow in this environment.
Knowing I can't grow in this environment. I let the past go, it's so irrelevant. Yeah. Coming out the black, yeah. Coming out the black, yeah. From Blackness.
Hey, good morning. I'm inboxing you a link for starting up on high and right and doing live mail.
Oh, you going live at what time?
Now. Dave's inboxing me a link. I'm like going literally right now. Yeah, my dude was good. I'm looking at the news. That's a good one. I'm feeling myself.
You gotta love yourself if not nobody else. Everything gon' fall in place if you being real in your steps. I'm talking real in every breath that you breathe. Only way to receive every order that you need to succeed. It's time to rise up out that black state. Look in the mirror, tighten up, grab yourself if this correlate. Cause I've been through that block shit. Dark nights, black thoughts, knowing I can't grow in this environment.
Knowing I can't grow in this environment. I let the past go, it's so irrelevant. Yeah. Coming out the black, yeah. Coming out the black, yeah. From Blackness, rise at the ashes, rise
Everything gon' fall in place if you being real in your steps. I'm talking real in every breath that you breathe.
All right. Hello, mother. I'm live. You gotta call in. I'm live. It's in your inbox. No. Just click the link in your inbox. I'm live. She wants to send it. She sent it now.
I'ma restore the lines back so that the black won't have to think black. Great sacrifice comes with separation, and I'm with trust, so we're not looking for reparation. Clarity equals transition when we left the black turn brain, so social speaking. They're internally high. The unaligned power, 144,000 will rise. While the black race stay in the dead state, the brain race stay alive, and you know why? Yeah, cause we came home to the most high. Yes, we came home to the most high. That's
the bright race of reality, we are here, raising up our community, no fear.
fear. Solar power is flowing through the atmosphere. It's only right we resign and channel out of here. There's no helping the black race, they all did. Marginalizing the beast in the warfare. There's no turning us back, we focus forward now. Our only focus is assignment, we will never bow. Yes, we're taking this over, this is our pledge. Our only focus is assignment, we are full-fledged. The right ones never play games, power don't play. We focus on honest work, seeking a brighter day. We all here for this power, we don't look back. The ones really of vomit will never fade the black. With the elected of vomit, you better recognize the next order of vomit is surely on the rise.
All right, let's go. All right. Huh? Okay. I put my phone on silent. Nobody text me, please. Please, please, please. No texts, please. It's distracting. All right. All right. We live again for another episode of High and Mighty Talks, soon to be High and Mighty Thoughts, with me, the intellectual Nuben Menkarayzz. Before I get started, all right, I want to first say, in the name of Amen, the Supreme, the All-Powerful, the one and only true Lord, in Amen we trust, in Amen we think, and in Amen we continue forward forever. So, you all know me, the intellectual Nuben Menkarayzz, and I'm going to be sharing some of my thoughts, my high and mighty thoughts, you know, for a lot of topics and things that are taking place right now. Again, I want to stress the fact that my focus is on logical and rational thinking. It's not on race. It's not on race or, you know, black, white. I don't stand for black or white. You know, I stand for the brightness. I stand for the brightness of the people. Again, that don't necessarily include black people. I don't include white people. I stand for the brightness of everything, the logic and rationale. I consider myself a bright man, not a black man, a bright man. Because, you know, that brings me to the topic of where I'm going with this right now. Because you got some of these pro-blacks who'll sit up here and say, oh, what's this guy Nuben? You don't want to be black. What, you ashamed of being black, brother? What's up with you, brother? First of all, I'm not your brother. Second of all, if I got to be your brother in the name of blackness, then I'm damn sure not your brother. I'd rather be your brother in the name of brightness, in the name of logical and rational sense. I am a bronze man, first and foremost, Coppertone man, you know, indigenous, original American man. And that's what I stand on. I don't come from Africa. I am not an African American. I am not a Negro. I am not a black man. These are terminologies that were given to us by these European Caucasian colonizers who came here into America and set up this system of black and white. I told you, white is synonymous with the immigrants. Black is synonymous with the indigenous people. That's why we're really called black people. Has nothing to do with our skin color, as you can clearly see. I hope I don't have to take the simple-minded back to school again and have to explain to you the difference between, or show you visually the difference between black and bronze. Black and bronze. I am a bronze man. All so-called black people born here in the Americas, right? You are the original Americans. Go and look up the 1828 Merriam-Webster Dictionary of American. Just type in 1828 definition of American. That's all, and that'll tell you everything of who the real Americans are. That'll let you know who the real Americans are. We are the real Americans. The first, we watched everybody come to this land, from Caucasians to Mongoloids who mixed in with us and now call themselves Native Americans. We watched everybody come here as the American indigenous people, or what the white man at one point called us Indians. We are the real American Indians, not Native Americans. Native Americans is a terminology that came from Caucasians, known as the Know Nothing Party, when they made their way over here and started setting up the European colonizers, started setting up their United States colonies here. You see, there's a difference between the United States colonies and the actual land of America, because the United States colonies colonized the land mass of North America. But the people that were here prior to them, the people who have always been here, the people who are the result of the migration of the Mayans, which is our people, the Mayan people, who came from South and Central America into North America, who came out of the Olmecs, the Aztec, the Inca, the Mayan, who are all bronze, copper-colored people that would be known as black today. These are the real American indigenous people. We are their descendants. We are not African. We didn't come off of no damn African slave ships. There was no transatlantic slave trade. That's a lie. That's some made-up lie. Okay? Shout out to Dane Calloway for exposing it. Shout out to Kareemio Ahawu for exposing it. Shout out to Sister Enra Vanzetta, who is going more deep into it, exposing it. Thank you for all of you content creators who bringing this out. Evergreen ADL, I'm giving everybody a shout out. You know, all the people who I forgot who bring it out. Like I said, I believe in, I acknowledge, I should say, I hate to say believe, but I acknowledge shouting out the people who are putting in the work to dispel all of these lies and ignorance of our people coming from Africa and being black people. That's all a bunch of lies made up by these Caucasian European colonizers who wanted to come into our place and call themselves Americans and misplace us, because they love America so much. Coming from Europe, they wanted to become the Americans. They wanted to become us. And they have, for the most part, succeeded, because anytime they got our people calling ourselves African Americans and telling this lie that we got to sit up and listen to time after time after time again, whether it be on the news media, whether it be on these media outlets, they doubling down on this whole African American thing. And then you got these simple-minded Negroes doing the same thing, doubling down on this African American thing, when that's a damn lie. We are the American indigenous people here, the so-called Indians, which is another way of saying indigenous, the indigenous people here in the Americas. We are thoroughly American, and we have no origins in Africa. None. None whatsoever. So if I have to believe in order to be a so-called black man, because I don't like what being a black man is representative of. See, when you're a so-called black man, you have to accept that your skin is black, which is a goddamn lie, a bold-faced lie. You can clearly see our skin is not black. You got to basically simplify your mind and dumb yourself down into believing that you got black skin when you can clearly see that you don't. We have the bronze copper-colored skin, copper-colored bronze skin, which is why a lot of these Caucasians are wearing Coppertone, a suntan lotion to look more like us, because they want to look like the real Americans, meaning us. It's time to dispel all these lies, man. You guys is out here preaching this pro-black stuff. You under the agenda of these Caucasians, man. A lot of you guys is pushing this whole black thing, and you tell them we got black skin. I told you all before, and I'm doubling down. I'm quadrupling down on this. Don't trust nobody who's still pushing us as black people. Okay? But to say that you a so-called black person means that you got to be in subjugation to Caucasian people or white people, because they're the first ones that called us black people. That term black did not come from us. So if it did not come from us, I'm not accepting it. And neither should you. You should not accept no one in their right thinking mind who can see that our skin is clearly not black. You see, who can clearly see that our skin is not black. You see this? My phone case is black. This is black. No, well, now this is actually blue. But y'all get the point. Y'all get the point. My lighter. We should not be accepting these false titles and terminologies. And like I said, nor should we accept the subjugation of what it means to be black here. What it means to be a person who has volunteered to fade themselves from history. Because when you do call yourself black people, you basically erasing yourself from history. Because what did I say black American history is? We came over on some slave ships from Africa, some bullshit lies like that. We came over on some slave ships from Africa. We got put into bondage and sold by white people. And then we was all, next thing you know, we all in slavery. And then 1865, the war, all between that time and before that time, there's nothing. That's like the Jesus Christ story. He 12 years old, then all of a sudden for like 20 something years, you get a gap in his life. Then you pop back up to he's 32 and he about to get crucified. That's kind of like what they tell us about our so-called black history. I'm not a black man, and I do not accept black history in any form. I'm glad Ron DeSantis is erasing black history out of the schools so that we can now hear amongst ourselves, because we ain't looking for them to tell us something about our history. We're going to learn about American indigenous history, who we are as American indigenous people, not African. Not African. So this is why I refuse to live my life as a black man, because that means you got to live in ignorance. You got to live in denial of who you really are. Even as a so-called black woman, you have to live in the shadows of Caucasian people. I refuse to live in the shadows of anybody, black or white. No, thank you. I'm going with what I see and what that definition, which basically was more of an affirmation than anything, not a validation, but an affirmation of what I always knew, that we are those bronze people, those bronze copper-colored people, and we done living that lie. We done with the black nonsense, and any right-thinking progressive person should be as well. Why black should be again, this is why black should be labeled a racial slur. Because when you hear Caucasians say it today, even hearing people say it in general, let's just be real, it does sound like a racial slur. Especially when you hear Caucasians say, yeah, these black people, and yeah, the blacks, and yeah, the blacks. You even hear how your President Joe Biden say, yeah, you blacks. Like he's spitting something out. You blacks, they're the blacks. You see? Because it was meant to be a racial slur. Y'all too stupid to understand that. You see, when you hear about a black person coming up to you, it sounds like a damn creature coming out of a damn manhole or something. Yeah, a black man, a black woman, sound like something that sound like creatures. Let's just be for real. I don't want nothing black coming up on me. Sound like a damn something out of a damn horror movie, a black man. Listen to that. And you know, Spike Lee, when you made that movie Malcolm X and you showed the guy explaining blackness in the nation to Malcolm X, you know, the guy Baines in that movie Malcolm X, after the man read all of that stuff, foul, sullen, all this stuff they put in there, then Caucasians turn around and call you black people. And they even double down on it now. Now they got under the Merriam-Webster dictionary. Now black people is black is African American. Again, reject. We are American indigenous people. Here before everybody. Came by way of our Mayan ancestors. The Mayans are the first people on North American soil. The Mayan people who are descendants from the Olmecs, the Aztec, and all these people from Mesoamerica. That's where we come from. That is our origin. So yeah, in 2023, make black, amongst our people, make black a racial slur like the word nigger. Because that's what it's meant to be. Stop trying to make black something other than what it really is. It was meant to be a racial slur from Caucasians and whatnot. And y'all good at doing this nonsense where you get insulted and called names and whatnot. And y'all, instead of y'all just saying we not associating with that anymore, you try to make it better or try to put a different spin on it to make it feel better to you because you have internalized that racial slur. Like how y'all was with the damn soul food, which ain't nothing but a bunch of garbage pig and all kind of filthy swine and all kinds of different, low grade vegetables and stuff like that. You'll turn around, eating that slave food because that's what the slaves was eating, and you'll turn around and call it soul food. And then make a damn movie called Soul Food where everybody from Big Mama who cooked that stuff every Sunday is dying of a damn high blood pressure, right? And everything else from eating the damn soul food. And then, of course, the next generation gathering around and eat the same garbage. Slave food. Call it what it really is, slave food. And call black what it really is, a racial slur, because that's what it was meant to be, and that's still what it is. Miss me with the blackness. From Americans from American Indians to coloreds to Negroes to blacks, African Americans. What I just did was I just gave you the racial identification and breakdown that these Caucasians who encountered us when they were setting up their colonies what they decided to label us as they were bringing about the census and starting to attempt to count people, right? So you do know, for you people who say, oh, you blacks and y'all not no Indians, y'all not no American Indians, y'all from Africa, you do know, for you racist mongoloids and the Latinos who sit up here and now y'all trying to claim Indian, y'all do know that the original Indians are black people, so-called black, the copper-colored people, not the so-called red or mongoloids. It is the so-called black people, the copper-colored people. You know, people with my skin tone, my hair, my woolly, curly type hair. Yeah, those are the American indigenous people. Those are the American Indian people. We didn't come from Africa, and we can prove that. Y'all can sit up here and get pissed off and get angry and stomp your feet and tell us y'all blacks from Africa because you talking out of the side of your face like the Caucasians who made up that lie, because y'all came over here. A lot of you mongoloids came over here from the crossing of the Bering Straits, and also when a lot of the Asian men came over here slaves, and all you did was intermingle and marry with so-called black people, the bronze, the real American Indians. And you took on their culture. Basically like what y'all do today when y'all become culture vultures. That's why you can find young Asian men, Caucasians, who want to take on the whole hip hop, you know, which is nothing but so-called black style and what you would call swag and things like that. They would take that on and try to be like us, you know. So that's the same thing with the American Indian thing. The American Indian culture, which is really our culture, was made popular because of how we lived at and whatnot, because of our descendancy from our Mayan ancestors. The first American Indians over here were the Mayans. And this is where the feathered head crowns come from. And like I said, the Mayan nation, the people went into down south, southern areas and split off into different tribes. That's how you got all these American Indian tribes. And you had the Mongoloids, the Asians mix in. And like I said, as the Asian men were coming over here working as slaves and whatnot, and this is how they got mixed into it. If you look at the early ones of them, you'll see that they look like a mixture between black and Asian, or Blasian, as they say. All right? But the real American indigenous people, the American Indians, are bronze, copper-colored, so-called black people. And again, that's already being proven. That whole Pan-African thing and the African slave ships, the transatlantic middle passage, all that's being debunked right now. So people like Umar Johnson, you better find another job, man. Dr. James Smalls, or you Pan-Africanists, y'all better find another job, man. Nobody want to hear that African shit no more. Raw and uncut. It's about business here. These people sitting up here talking about, I'm not ready to give up Africa because Africa, Africa got the resource. Remember I told you how stupid that sounded from that guy, Dr. James Smalls, talking about, I'm not ready to give up Africa. Like I said, like you own any pieces of Africa. The only ones that's benefiting from Africa is Caucasians and Asians. The only ones that's getting money out of Africa, big money. I'm not talking about a few. I mean, you got some few African leaders and whatnot in these countries that's getting a coin. Shout out to you for those of you who doing it. But for the mass part, let's just be for real. Africa is colonized. It's always been colonized. And the Caucasians been taking it. Now they brought their brothers into it. The Asians, they getting money out of Africa now. And they subjugating you niggas over there in Africa, man. They subjugating y'all. They got y'all out here. They coming into your country, screwing your women. Displacing you. Got your women up here, just like the black man here in America. They're screwing your women, basically making you men into turning you black men into a bunch of sodomites. You see, that's really what's taking place in Africa and in here in America. They're taking your black woman to restart their bloodline. But we'll keep it moving. So that's the trajectory of where we come from. Why is there Coppertone suntan lotion that was created here and became popular here in America? You notice that it's the suntan lotion. You have these people spraying on bronze and Coppertone, skin tone, and doing fake tans and whatnot. You notice that? I put up an ad on my paper where you see the little Caucasian baby, and they put some Coppertone on her skin. Why Coppertone? Could it be that the reason why they want a Coppertone tan and want that because they're trying to look like the original Coppertone people that are described, or the Coppertone, the copper races of people, the Coppertone races of people. that are described in the Merriam-Webster 1828 dictionary, a definition of American? Is that what that is? That the original Americans are Coppertone people? I'm going to read the Merriam-Webster dictionary version. You can look it up. American Dictionary English, right? Webster's Dictionary 1828. Online, you can find it. I didn't make this up. American, a native of America, originally applied to the Aboriginal, meaning indigenous. The Aboriginal, the first people here, the Aboriginals or copper-colored races found here by the Europeans, the Caucasians, but now applied to the descendants of Europeans born in America. In other words, the Caucasian white people, the so-called white people, because they didn't become white until they came into America, they took on the name America from the copper-colored races. And no, they're not talking about the Mongoloid Indians, because a lot of people say, oh, they talking about the Native American Mongoloid. And no, they are not. They are not, because you make reference to them as Redskins. I've never heard anybody make reference to the Mongoloid, so-called Asian-looking Indians as anything other than Redskin. I have never heard them called Coppertone. The only people that fit that description is so-called black people, the people who are falsely being labeled black. We're the Coppertone people, the American indigenous people that the Europeans, Caucasians came over here and took our land, the Indian Removal Act, and put themselves in our places, the Americans. And in doing that, they pushed us into becoming black people. Basically pushed us into a state of darkness. And our people, for the longest time, our people, our elders who were watching this, they were resisting that terminology of black. They didn't want to be referred to as black. That was an insult. As I said, those were fighting words. And they resisted the whole black thing. Until people like your James Brown and them came, who I think got a visit from the government. And next thing you know, say it loud, I'm black and I'm proud. Black power. Y'all better think about this. It was these movements and these phrases of black power and pro-blackness, were they really for the evolution of our people? Or was it the downgrading of our people? I want y'all to think about that. Nothing but reality here. I was touching on a few things. Hold on. Okay. I wanted to discuss briefly how, because it's a lot of topics. I'm gonna zip through these. How was it that a white supremacist society grew in Bronze America? How did the white supremacist society, which we're currently under today, how was that able to grow in Bronze America, or the America of the copper-colored people? How were they able to plant within the midst of America a white supremacist society, which is now called the United States, which is still under the white supremacist order? How were they able to implant that in the America of the copper-colored races, our people? Simply by unification. Unification and the need to survive. Because, when the Caucasians came into America and they were trying to get themselves, established amongst our people, because we had all the land at one point in time. The bronze copper-colored people had all the land. It wasn't the so-called Mongoloid Indians, because they'll tell you themselves they didn't believe in owning land. They camped on the outskirts of the land and basically was setting up camps. But the people who actually were farming the land, building houses on the land, cultivating the land was our people, the real Indians, the real American indigenous people who are the descendants of the Mayans who came here. They set up shop here in America. They were the first ones growing cotton and harvesting cotton, growing the sweet potatoes, all the foods and tobacco. Our people did that. Distilling and using potatoes and whatnot. Why do you think our people are the best farmers in this country? How is it that we supposedly come from Africa, but yet we are the best farmers here in this country. We were the best farmers because not only were we picking cotton, we were also harvesting and growing it because the Caucasians didn't know how. They didn't know how to grow and farm in this country because they do not come from an agrarian society. In other words, they don't come from a agricultural society. So therefore, they had to rely on the people that were already here, that were growing on the land, that were living on the land, that were basically thriving on the land, which was our people. And they got together collectively because at first they asked, could we share the land with them? And we was like, no. We said no. You know, like how they do today when it comes to we move in neighborhoods where they at, they give us hell. Oh, nigga, get out my neighborhood. We was the first one being like, cracker, get out our area anyway. We didn't say cracker, but y'all get the meaning. We said no. And because we said no and they had a hard time going here, they started referring to us as niggardly people. Thus with the term, because the word niggardly, like we broke down before, and even Dane Calloway, shout out to him, he broke it down first. Dane Calloway brought out the word niggardly, that's the origin of the word nigger. Because niggardly means people who are literally stingy, who don't want to share, or who are miserly when it comes to their possessions or money or whatever. They're called niggardly people. They just took the niggardly part off, and it became, the L-Y off, and they just became niggas. That's really the origin of the word nigger. It did not come from Negro. That's a lie. How do you get nigger from Negro? Negro just means black in Spanish. Nigger is an English word that means stingy. See, they don't want to admit that because then they would have to admit that our people were here and we had all the land and all the resources and the capital here because we knew how to work the land and grow off the land, because the land is money. The land is money because of what it yields. That's why the money here in this society is green, to be a reminder of where the real money comes from, which is the land, what you grow out of the land, what you harvest from the land. That's why money is green. All right. Why most of these countries in Africa, I'm going to talk about some of these countries in Africa, because a lot of these people coming over from Africa, they got this whole idea like they actually got a real culture in their society. And Tariq Nasheed brought this out, and I want to reiterate what he's saying. And then he made a good point. You do know a lot of these people who are in Africa, they are not, and they have these names like Nigerian, Ugandan. I don't know about the Ugandans, but a lot of these countries in Africa were thrown together by Caucasian colonizers, European colonizers. In other words, they was taking tribes of people, because really in Africa, they were living on a tribal type of system like here in America. And so what the white man did, these Caucasians did when they were dividing up Africa, they basically, like the Dutch, the Spanish, the German, the English, they were basically naming these places and putting these people in these different regions, or, basically herding them into these different regions. Like, for example, I found out it was a Caucasian woman named Flora something, I forget what her name is, Flora Shaw. I think it was Flora Shaw. It was a white female, a Caucasian female, who came up with the name Nigeria for Nigeria. And y'all so-called Nigerians up here talking about, yeah, we Nigerian and our Nigerian culture. It was a white woman, a white female, who named your country Nigeria. There's a lot of countries in Africa that was named. Hell, even the word Africa is European or Caucasian. That's European Caucasian word. Okay? But they don't tell you that. These people were just corralled and herded into sections, and y'all Nigerians now. You see? Or like how they did the Cape Verdean, y'all Cape Verdeans now. There was no Cape Verdean place. A lot of these places didn't even exist. These places were colonized places. These were hubs that were created by the European colonizers who were taking over parts of Africa. And they just needed names to, basically mark their territory. So they gave these places names in Africa, these formed countries, to mark their territory, kind of like how a dog piss on a piece of land to mark his territory, like literally. Because that's what he did. He took a piss on these African countries. So next time you Nigerians sit up here and talk about your Nigerian heritage, you got to thank that Caucasian female for your name, Nigeria. And a lot of you so-called African countries. So miss me with the we are African culture nonsense. All right. Right now they're trying to, Tariq Nasheed brought this out again, talking about that they're trying to do the whole census thing and, and trying to see how so-called black people want to be redefined or re-identified on the census thing for 2023. Now, he came with the foundational Black American thing. Let me tell you something. Going forward, if you even care to participate in the census, I don't. But going forward, there should be no damn black anything on the census. No black anything. You see? No black anything. If anything, if you want to do that, it should just be American or American indigenous, bronze American indigenous people. That's it. Not black. Because again, when you wear those terminologies, if you're calling yourself black people, African Americans, Negroes, any of those names, you're identifying with a slave title. Why? Because these Caucasians gave us these titles. And anything that another man gives you, a man who is not your race, not your kind, not your people, that's basically a hand-me-down of submission. That is a slave master to slave connection that they're giving you. So those are, black is a slave title. Black is a slave title. African American is a slave title. Negro is a slave title. And if y'all don't think of yourselves as slaves, then you should not be identifying with that. So miss me with the black anything, whether you call yourself foundational black Americans. Nah, man, no black anything, man. All the end, the hell with the end of blackness, please. All right. Has Pan-Africanism stunted our growth here in America? You damn right. Yes. Hell to the yes. Pan-Africanism has stunted our growth here in America. Why is that? Because instead of our people, the real Americans, the American indigenous people, the real Americans, instead of us focusing on making ourselves greater in America and, in our homeland, here in our homeland, instead of focusing on putting our energy into making ourselves better and greater people in America, our homeland, instead of us doing that, we sitting around here was trying to embrace some African dream. Some African dream that's being sold to us by a bunch of scam Africans, a bunch of people who are not in Africa, who would have no intention of going to Africa, but yet want to sell us Pan-Africanism, aka scam Africanism. Which brings me to my next point. Let me see. No, I was that's the point down. But the whole why I'm going to say this right now with the whole Pan-Africanist thing. Can you really take Pan-Africanists seriously? The red, black, and green Kwanzaa talking people. Can you really take these people seriously? How can I take you seriously? Like I said this and I'm gonna say it again. I don't care if I sound like a broken record. At the risk of sounding like a broken record, I don't really care. But how do you take these people seriously when they don't even have African names? Umar Johnson, Dr. James Smalls, and the rest of these pro-black Pan-Africanists. How do you take people seriously who don't have African names, but they're telling you that we should be embracing Africanism, which is really nothing but a Caucasian invention, Pan-Africanism? How do you take these people seriously? How do you take people seriously who don't even have African names, who are not in Africa teaching, who don't have any setup in Africa? They here in America wearing English names, but you're going to tell me I'm supposed to buy this whole Pan-African thing from you? Make that make sense to me. Why do y'all take these people seriously? Why do you take Umar Johnson seriously? Why? Because he got the DR in front of his name and the PhD in back that he got from the white man? Or Dr. James Smalls, why do you take him seriously? I know you're elder and all that, but so what? If you leading the people astray, I don't give a goddamn how old you are. You're not an elder, you are older. And yes, that terminology, older and elder, came from me. When you hear Tariq Nasheed and all them people using that came from Nuben Menkarayzz first. The difference between the elders and the olds. I even heard the Black Authority use that before. You see, shout out to me. I don't care if I got 1,000 people going to see this. I don't care. I know I got the YouTube ban, shadow ban on my stuff. I done been putting work on YouTube for years, and I done influenced a whole lot of people. So yeah, I don't have the popularity. I don't have the numbers, but millions of people, hundreds of thousands, I know at least done seen my videos, and that's fine. The message going to get out regardless. I'm not looking to be popular. I'm really not. Just looking to spread the message, which is the evolution of our people, the growth and the uprising and the intellectual order and the structure and the restructuring and the law and the order of our people, putting our people, going forward, regenerating our people into the state of life where we need to be. All right. Shout out to my daughter. All right. Is the Black Lives Matter and BLM, aka Black Lives Matter, and the NAACP, aka the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. Again, picking back up with the colored people again. Notice they didn't say black people yet because we wasn't black yet when they formed the NAACP in 1909. We wasn't black yet. We were colored people. See, again, this proves that we are the real American indigenous people, the real American Indians, because they did not say in the Merriam-Webster dictionary that the copper colored people were the original Americans that the Europeans found here. So all they did was take the copper part off and just kept calling us colored people until they changed that up to Negro and African American and black and all that, which came later. But my question is the Black Lives Matter movement and the NAACP, are they now subsidiaries of the LGBT community? Yes, they are. Yes, in the hell they are. Because the women who were the black females who were the head of the Black Lives Matter, BLM, which is really, like I said, a Caucasian front. They just put those black females in the front of there. That's really a front that's fronted by Caucasian money, European money, you see. Those women are all LGBT. They're all lesbians. You think that's a coincidence that all those women that are head of the BLM that they use as front people, because they just using them as fronts. They're not head of anything. They just use them as front, and they use them to be the crash test dummies to take the hits when the A.R.C. them came looking to find out what happened to all that money Black Lives Matter collected through damn Facebook, through damn where they got it from, all those places where you send money to. I can't think of them right now. GoFundMe or whatever. All that money Black Lives Matter collected, yet it was these European Caucasians who LGBT that was getting money from that, because they're the ones who control that through these black females. So, and same thing with the NAACP. That's why if you notice that the NAACP now pushes LGBT concerns and issues. They push LGBT concerns and issues more than they do black so-called issues and concerns. Who was the one in the NAACP Image Awards? They gave an award to Dwayne Wade and Gabrielle Union for, basically embracing homosexual behavior coming from Dwayne Wade's son, for basically allowing his son to transition over into a female. This is what they were given an award for. Now, question: why would the NAACP, which is not controlled by black people, by the way, nor was it really started by black people, it was started by Caucasians, right? But they put black people later on in the forefront. So why would an organization that's supposed to be for the progression of black people, so-called black people, why would they give an award to to somebody that I could have seen the LGBT community openly giving an award to them, but why the NAACP? Because they up under them. People were saying that a lot of these, and you go to the NAACP meetings and things like that, these old time people that still believe in that garbage, you go to the NAACP meeting, they handing you a damn pamphlet or a flyer promoting damn LGBT issues and concerns and things like that. Why the hell are they pushing LGBT issues and concerns, and this is supposed to be a so-called black organization? Answer: because now all of these black organizations are controlled by the LGBT. That's why they're using phrases like black is the new gay. Think about it. Where they going with this? All right. Do American black people have culture? Yeah, they do. You know what our real culture is? Because while y'all trying to scramble to find our culture in Africa and all this other nonsense, I told you pass up our real culture here in America. We're known by our music as our culture. Blues music, R&B, rock and roll, rock music, jazz music, right? All that's our music. Hip hop, rap, all that's our music. Jamaican music, the ska, whatever that's called. These were all made within the borders and the boundaries of America by American indigenous bronze people, so-called black. We created that music here. It was not created in Africa. It was created here in America. And by you calling yourselves African Americans, you're giving credit to people who all the way over another side of the world who got nothing to do with you. You're giving them credit by saying you come from these people and that you're somehow influenced, or that they have some sort of influence over music that we created, which they do not. They do not have any influence over our music. American music, American indigenous music was totally a creation of ours, from our Mesoamerican ancestors who came from South and Central America into North America and built the first civilizations here. We brought the drum here. We brought the drum here, which was enough. And I'm pretty sure other fluted instruments and things as well. You see, we brought these things. Fluted instruments, might as well say, because they show you in Mesoamerica the flute instruments and things like that. And yeah, I can definitely prove that we are the Mayan people, because I got an image of a Mayan man who looks exactly like me. I always put it up on my Facebook. There's an image of a Mayan man, a Mayan warrior, and a ruler. This is from a statue that was made thousands of years ago who looks exactly like me. And we find all these images of the Mayans and all the people that came into North America that look like today's so-called black people today. So miss me with the African nonsense. All right. Our people have a culture, and the music we created here, the foods we created here, you know, I'm talking about the use of turkey and buffalo. We the first ones to do barbecue. We barbecued. We were the ones barbecuing buffalo, bison, before there were any cow. We were doing the ribs and things like that, buffalo ribs and bison. We did that first. We were the first ones to open pits barbecuing barbecuing buffalo, because we hunted buffalo. There was no cow here. The Europeans and them, they brought cows. I think it was the Asians. They brought cows over here. There were no chickens and no cows. We took turkeys. We ate turkey and we ate buffalo. And we fished, of course. And we was growing vegetables and stuff. So we had hearty meals. And we were rustling buffalo. That's where the whole thing of the cattle rustler come from. So our culture is the American Indian culture, because when we were killing the wild turkeys, we were taking their feathers, and our women were making head crowns off them. That's where the feathered headdresses come from, because we were killing and eating the wild turkeys. We ate the birds. There were no chickens yet, keep in mind, brought here. You know, I know it was the Asians that brought over the chicken, if I'm not mistaken. You see, but the yard fowl and all that, but it was mainly turkey, because that's still prevalent here in America, wild turkeys. So we were getting the wild turkey, we were killing them and having turkey and whatnot. Even notice today, Caucasian people don't eat turkey unless it's really, they don't do turkey wings and stuff like that. Turkey leg, they eat turkey more like on Thanksgiving and things like that. But turkey really is something that we, as so-called American indigenous people, bronze American indigenous people, that was one of our staple foods. That's why you got businesses even today like the Turkey Leg Hut, run by bronze American indigenous people. They sell turkey as their, staple food, because that's what we made. That's what we ate. Turkey, buffalo. We didn't eat pig. Was no pig. We didn't eat pork. We didn't eat chicken. We didn't eat cow, because pig was brought over here by the Spanish. There was no pigs in America. They brought pigs over here. That's why a lot of your Latinos who are descendants of a lot of these Caucasian Spaniards that came over here, that's why they love eating some swine. They're heavy pork eaters, because the Caucasian, Spanish, and the Latinos, which are your Italians and all those people like that, they're heavy pork eaters. All right? We didn't eat swine. We were actually following the dietary law, which mirrored the Israelite law, because a lot of our people were dealing with the Israelite law and order set up here, which I'll get into another time because that's too long to go into. I'll probably do it on the radio broadcast. So that's our culture: American Indian culture, American cowboy culture. Who were the first cowboys? Our people. They, the Caucasian called us cowboys because, and we were the first wrestlers of cattle and things like that. That came from us. They was called, the Caucasians called us cowboys because they was calling the so-called black men, bronze men, boys, and calling black women girls. So we worked with the cows. So they put cow and boy together. Hey, cowboy, come over here, cowboy. And like I said, I told you, over time, it just started sounding cool. And, then the white man wanted to be a cowboy. But they were known as cow hands. We were the cowboys. You see? So that's our culture: wrestling, cattle, and things like that. Farming, being the indigenous people, our music. That's our culture. As American indigenous culture, American cowboy culture, American music, that's our American diet. That's our culture. Stop looking to find culture in Africa, because you ain't going to find it, because we don't have nothing to do with Africa. See, that's what I mean when I say that so-called African thing stunted our growth. Was the U.S. economy built by black slave labor or white immigrant workforce or white immigrant workforce? The U.S. economy, the foundation of the U.S. economy, was built by black slave labor. Let's just be for real. Because the agricultural yielding of the land is what produced the industry here in America. You see, the growing of tobacco, the growing and the harvesting of tobacco, which was done by our people first. All right, the growing and the harvesting of cotton, which was done here by our people first. We was already doing this. Keep in mind, we've been here doing all this stuff. You look at the Mayans, you see the Mayans on the wall smoking what looks to be marijuana, what looks to be tobacco. They was doing that. Oh, if they was doing that over there in South and Central America, they was smoking back then. You don't think they came over here and started smoking? They was planting the same. So what if they didn't take tobacco seeds and plant it? The white man always wants you to think that you were too stupid to plant and do things. We was doing that before they came here. We showed them how to do it. They didn't know how to plant nothing. That's why when they came over here, they would starve. They didn't know how to plant that. If we really came from Africa, then how the hell we know how to plant the land better than them? Why are you going to take people who's supposed to be from a whole other continent and bring them here and they know how to plant the land better than you? Don't tell me you just brought them here to pick cotton. Stop it. You could get it. There was plenty of white and Asian slaves, or what you call indentured servants here, that could have picked cotton. Anybody could do that. No, you needed the so-called black people, aka the bronze, copper-colored people, the American indigenous people who were growing the cotton. You needed them not only to pick it, you needed them to grow it. You needed them to basically run the land. And without them, y'all would have starved and died. Which brings me to the thing. Hold on a second. So it wasn't until later, after the foundation of America was built through slave labor and the harvesting from the land, which again is why cash or money is green, as being synonymous with the land. That's how the economy of America was built, from the southern regions and all the farmland and the harvesting of the property. That's why they wanted the slaves, aka or indentured people, or the slaves. They wanted them on the land, and they didn't want to let them go, because if you let them go, these people would die. You Caucasians would have died on the land. You didn't know how to harvest or grow on the land. You didn't know how to do nothing for yourself here. That's why slavery was important. Listen to the Caucasian European. They admitted the southern slaveholders, or should I say the country slaveholders, the Caucasian southern slaveholders. They said that slavery is the lifeblood of the South, meaning that if they don't have slavery, they can't live. So my question is this: if you need these people to live, these people who you say are inferior to you, these so-called black people, then how are you supreme if you need them to live? See, you supreme when you don't need nobody. When you're self-sufficient, when y'all could have went into the ground and worked your own land and harvested your own cotton and did all your own work. That's when you supreme. That's when you're sufficient. You see, black people didn't need y'all. The American indigenous people, the copper-colored races, we were doing fine, just hit fine by ourselves here, just fine. We didn't need y'all here. We didn't need no Europeans, no Caucasians coming into America. All they did was mess up things. Threw off the ecology of this land. Yeah, sure, they brought some good things here as far as corporate-wise, as far as structure and organization, which our people fell short on doing. I got to give credit where credit is due. I'm not going to say they didn't bring no advancement. The only thing they did was bring a structured order, which is what we had that, but we had that as individuals in different groups. That's where the whole Confederacy thing come from. The only difference is we didn't put it all together and work it as one thing, as one unified force. The Caucasians had enough sense to do that. That's why they were able to establish a white supremacist government here in the society, because they needed that for survival. Because, our people were, when they were coming here and setting up shop, we basically resisted them setting up shop here in America. And a lot of the Indian raids, as they told them, was really bronze people, just the indigenous people, basically overrunning a lot of their colonies and places where they set up, would burn down their stuff, would kill their people, would rob them. That's really why they had this hate for so-called black people, because of that. They don't tell you that part, though. That part is left out of history. We as the indigenous people, we was giving them hell, man. We wasn't letting them set up shop here. And then you had some people they got with that basically gave them a break and let them set up and stop basically harassing them. And that's where they started to get codified. And they had to do that out of survival. They had to create a white supremacist, collective and body for survival. I get that. I'm not even mad at that. Anybody who goes through such trauma and they getting attacked by people and they trying to stabilize themselves, they're going to do what's natural, which is try to protect themselves. The only ones who don't do stuff like that is black people, unfortunately. Okay, we about to wrap this up, so I'm zipping through everything. I think everybody enjoying this. Yeah, I know. All right. I'm almost done. Was the U.S. Okay, I did that. I think I touched everything. I think I messed around and got everything. I'm going to double check my list. Okay. Yeah, okay. All right, I pretty much touched everything. So I'm going to take some questions. If anybody got any questions, I'll take questions before I wrap it up. By the way, from our company, Underlord. You like Underlord? You like Underlord gear? You see this one of our shirts, the Underlord colored from the color section. There's going to be a link under there for the Underlord store and whatnot. If you can buy this, we got the hot stuff coming out, for the forward thinking, man and whatnot. Again, the Underlord is really a euphemism for modern day future thinking men. You see, who are under the mindset of lords, under the mindset of lords, men of power. So this is why you see the helmet on the head of the Underlord, the crown. It has the power going through it and whatnot. We're going to really push this brand and it's selling a lot and whatnot. Shout out to all of our affiliates and the people in the, who are working, staff at the Underlord company. We got a lot of things coming, polo shirts, sweaters. It's not going to be definitely no fly by night brand. So we got any questions? Okay. All right, if there's no questions, cop some Underlord stuff tonight. We're doing MENTELLECT Radio tonight at 10:30, so chime in. MENTELLECT Radio, you can call in. The calling number is 319-527-6028. 319-527-6028. So, tune in tonight for MENTELLECT Radio. Subscribe to this channel, High and Mighty Thoughts. The name's going to change from Talks to Thoughts. High and Mighty Thoughts with me, the intellectual Nuben Menkarayzz. Subscribe to this channel. Subscribe to the Ethnic American channel with Sister Enra Vanzetta. So subscribe to my MENTELLECT Patreon, where all my raw and uncut broadcasts are. And with that, I'm out. Good night.